Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics. Ah, come on, Sam. Things are not that bad, are they? Started drinking already.
No, mate, I just thought I'd get a head start. But to be honest, I just wanted to crack one open ready for you. Are you ready and rolling as well?
I'm armed and dangerous, mate. So cheers. There you go.
Cheers. Lovely to see you, mate. Ooh. How's your week been? You all right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just choking on my own lager there. Yeah, it's not been too bad, thank you. Very busy, about a few miles covered.
Yes.
So I was filming. So Haunting of the Lady Jane is now that's wrapped. I wrapped on that. I was lovely to get that done. So more rehearsals for Invisible Me, which of course is opening in September, and I've been helping and watching my lovely wife, lovely Verona, on her show up in Edinburgh. Which I'm going to let her tell you all about at some point because, well, you know, we'll get her back on, I'm sure. But yeah, it was good. Lots and lots of tickets sold. Really, really lovely response. But I'll leave that to Verona.
Well, anyone that's listening or watching, feel free. We've linked to Verona's pages before for the musical balloon band. So if you want the inside scoop and don't want to have to wait for Verona to be back on the show and to talk about Edinburgh, then, check her social media out because there's lots of updates and little bits and pieces which you'll want to have a look at. So we'll leave that one for her, mate. You're not going to steal the thunder there. I'm sorry.
So Edinburgh Tales, yeah, brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
So come on, then, Mr. Dunning, enlighten me. How was your week been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Fairly busy with odds and sods, I guess. So tying up a few loose ends here and there, catching up on a few bits. I'm in communication with the guys, the production team from the House That Zombies Built, because we've got a couple of days to pick up on that. Although we finished the main bits, just a couple of extra bits to finish off. Other projects coming out that I'm getting excited about. Yeah, just lots of prep work done this week, I think, is the main way to look at it. And for us as well, we've got some stuff in the pipeline that we've been working on and chatting about. But we're not going to spoil that. We're not going to spoil that just yet. So but yeah, so your filming's all gone really well then, I take it.
Yeah, it was really good. It was we had the location, or they had the location, because most of the principal filming will be on board barges, which I'm slightly sad that I'm not going to get to do. But they had there was a set of sequences that the flashback sequences that we filmed. We're all in the house, the family home. So we had the location. They had the location just for 2 days. So we were kind of like, get it done. But we didn't have a lot of time to improvise. The director loves to sort of like keep the camera running. Let's find other stuff and, work outside the script and the dialogue, the written dialogue. So it was really interesting to sort of just stretch the acting and the film muscles a little bit and go, okay, can I do something interesting with the camera here? Can we work things a bit differently? So it was, for me, even though it's only a small, a smaller part in the movie, in the film, it was really nice to work on something and expand on some ideas. So I really enjoyed it. It's great fun.
And you say about working with an interesting director. I've gone and spotted a segue, mate.
Genius that you are. Yeah.
Well, yes, because don't worry, listeners and viewers, you are not stuck with Drew and I rambling on, just the two of us again this week. We have another superb guest joining us. And as I say, there's a segue in there because he too is a director. I mean, he is a man of many talents, but directing is probably how you know him best, Drew. And I would imagine how others may have heard of him best, or certainly through one route or another. So I think it's probably time that we let him join us. What do you reckon, Drew?
I think we should. Yeah, let's let the lovely man in and see what he's going to say for himself.
Okay, I'll click the button and then you can tell.
Hit the button.
Who we've got.
Mr. Clemens, Mr. Sam Clemens, how lovely to have you with us, mate.
Oh, lovely to be here, guys. So nice to see you again, Drew. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen you even here on, on Zoom or anything for so long. So it's great to see your face.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Sam.
And yes, nice to meet you too, Sam. We'll confuse everyone at home with the names being the same today. So, Drew, you're going to have to do most of the talking to keep it safe.
Yeah, that probably just makes it more confusing. It's Sam.
Yeah,
right.
Samuel is obviously what I was being told off. So maybe that.
Oh yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah.
So let's try and both avoid that today.
Yeah. Strange enough, I was never Samuel when I was being told off. I don't know why that was, but
that'd be weird. Yeah, I'm
that would be
Samuel, Andrew normally. Yeah, that would be.
Anyway, I mean, well, Sam has met Sam, but I mean, I've known you for quite a few years now. We worked together. We've had the joy and the pleasure of working together on some strange and different and interesting shows. But for those of us for those people listening, watching that don't know you, would you do us the kindness of telling us a bit about your fascinating, wonderful self, please, Mr. Sam Clemens? I'm not going to call you Samuel.
Thank you very much. Yes. God. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Samuel Clemens, but Sam to everyone. And I am an actor and a director and a writer, and sort of juggle between each one of those jobs. But started out as an actor. I trained at the Drama Centre London, graduated in like 2001, I think, and then worked professionally as an actor ever since, and then started directing my own films around about 2007, I think, which was sort of inspired by when I was an actor at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and they have a load of kit. And while you're there in Stratford, you're allowed to make a short film while you're there, or you pitched to make them. And at the end of the season, they screen them at the local Stratford cinema. So we all went off and made short films, and that kind of ignited, a sort of a burning desire to make my own films, because I couldn't believe up until that point you could just pick up a camera and go and make something. I mean, obviously those films were a bit strange because they would star people like Toby Stephens or Judi Dench or whoever was not, because they were down there. So your first foray into it was like, this is mental. But it really, that kicked that off for me in about 2005, and so I've made a few shorts from then on, and would direct film from that perspective, and I'd write my own film. So I never really sort of took it that seriously until I'd probably say, just my dad passed away, I would say, and then really I've sort of transitioned a bit more over to directing from about 2016, 17, I would say 17 probably. And now I'm more of a director than I'm an actor. I do act when people ask me and when I'm free, willing, and able. And it sounds like a good project, or people want me occasionally, which is nice. But the writing thing, obviously, being the son of Brian Clemens, I sort of steered heavily away from writing because how do you follow that? And the answer is you don't. So I never thought that I would ever write anything, but I only wrote out of necessity, because I was like, well, no one else is writing something for me, so or for us to make something, so I would write because I needed to more than anything else. And now I'm doing it more and more often, which I really enjoy, but I definitely don't work at the speed he worked at. I'll just put it that way.
Well, no, it was incredibly prolific, wasn't it? Incredible.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously you work across, like we have to these days, many disciplines, and something we've been asking I guess that we've had on, because we've come out of that awful period, fingers crossed, of the unwelcome guest, as we refer to him. How were you affected by that, and has anything come out of that has changed the direction you've taken any of your work?
I mean, I think it's definitely affected everyone. There's all the things that I think affect everyone, where you slow down and you take stock of things that you maybe. I think the thing is, what I didn't realize, when you go on holiday and on about day 4 you relax, you actually relax, or maybe later, right? COVID in lockdown did that for me. It's like the ambition switch was just turned off because everyone was in the same place. So there was no sort of competitive thing about wanting to keep working and moving because you couldn't. So that was something that I don't sort of remember ever feeling since before I was probably around a teenager when I decided I want to be an actor. So that sort of drive, the ambition switch had been switched off, which I felt was quite a healthy thing to at least. I feel it's fully back on now, in turbo, but I'm aware of it, which I wasn't aware of as much before. I suppose maybe subconsciously was aware of it, but not so consciously. But in terms of surviving during lockdown, yeah, I was quite lucky in the sense that because I work in quite a few fields, so I direct theatre, audio, and film. The audio world continued. It's just had to find a route around it, and with the technology like we're using today, actors would buy in microphones and kit and and go and sit in their wardrobes and their cupboards under the stairs covered in duvets. I mean, just and some really high profile people with a duvet and a USB mic, and you're like, and it works, and all the technology that is out there for clearing up things, for sounds that is used, but was really, really put to the test this time. So when I managed to direct a whole box set of an episode of a series called Callan with Ben Miles and Frank Skinner, and that was mad because that was the first one we did, and it was so nice to be working, but it was over Zoom, so we could see everyone. But and everyone had to record their side, so we didn't have a backup. Nowadays we use something called Clean Feed, where the engineer takes control of your microphone, records their end, and you record your end as a backup. But when we did Callum, we didn't have we had just the actor's backup. And I remember Frank Skinner, bless him, his connection kept going. So eventually our producer had to call him and then had the phone of him playing over her Zoom to me. So that's how I directed Frank. It was sort of like over 3 devices. It was mental. But I didn't expect, obviously, anything like that to be able to be possible. So I felt that I was quite lucky because we managed to, still work, not obviously every day and every week, but that was something that sort of kept me busy. And also, I think audio generally, my partner Lara and I, we were doing some voiceover work for e-learning for China. And that's still going today. And it's sort of, that was only really because we, out of necessity, needed to buy microphones and stuff. And we've, slowly built like a little, booth area, which is still in my wardrobe because that's the only place we can have it.
In fact, Sam, it was thanks to you because I did exactly the same thing. I as we bought microphones, built myself a booth, and then I remember it's thanks to you that I actually recorded Shylock for Merchant of Venice.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So we actually are in the same production, recorded hundreds of miles away.
So weird because I played Bassanio, and I played him at drama school. Sort of, it was like 20 years ago. So quite weird, and it was quite bizarre how much came back from doing it 20 years ago. I was like, oh my god, I remember this. Like acid flashback, but in a booth. But yeah, so I suppose that kept me fairly busy. But the other thing was we'd started a film company called Take the Shot Films. Perfect timing, in like But it allowed me the time to research the stuff that the films that we were ending up and we're pursuing. One of them is a Western, and it was great because it really allowed me. I'd been to the locations, we'd recce'd it and everything and we were quite close to making it, but obviously COVID happened, and now traveling is not as easy, and contingencies for COVID in films is very, very difficult, as we were sort of discussing before. But so I spent the time really working on the script and researching it, and I just watched a shed load of films. I've watched an enormous amount. I didn't watch. I sort of feel like I finished Netflix. I was like, right, well, that's
completed it. Done.
Yeah, done.
Rinsed it out.
Yeah. Move on to the level boss, Amazon Prime. And then I just started getting movies from like the 30s and 40s and just, ordering in a lot, ordering in lots of movies and food, and just sort of going back and watching some of the, the inspiration, where the inspiration for the idea first emanated and who then have copied that and why it worked in the first film and why it was made, for example. And so I did a lot of that, which I didn't think obviously I'd have time to be doing ever again. So it sort of felt a little bit like I, as a teenager, and got a chance to sort of exercise a little bit of the, the things that I like doing, which is, and hobbies, which was watching films and studying film and stuff and television series and things. So I got to do that a lot, which is great. So in some ways, I sort of had I felt like a breather.
Mm.
And I was lucky that, I didn't really, no one in my family got COVID or had it. We were all quite lucky when we were isolated and, kept in contact all the time. So it didn't feel like total doom and gloom, immediately directly to me, to my family. Outside to other friends it did, and so I didn't have that worry either. So I really tried to use the time to be as creative as I could be. I didn't learn an instrument. I mean, like something. I was like, I think everyone feels a pressure to now feel like they play the tuba or something.
Yeah.
But so I used it as a sort of a period to kind of work on the material because I had the time to do that. And obviously the stuff at Big Finish, that started to slowly increase because they found a workflow to make that work. And so it changed a bit because as you were sort of saying, asking me about how does it change, it changed it a little bit in that obviously we'd always go into a studio to record and we'd hire a bunch of actors and we'd all be in person, and we would never have really done anything remotely or very rarely. Like I know, Tom Baker, for example, as Doctor Who, would record his in a studio near him, and then the rest of the cast would still record that side, but he would still go to a studio and do it, and then he moved to doing it, I think, at home now. But it forced us to use actors as well from other countries. So, which is quite, and that's become something I think is going to stay a bit, that, just because someone's in Canada doesn't mean that you can't offer them something in it. They just have to get up very early. But we wouldn't have done that before. We wouldn't have even considered that, I shouldn't think, in the same way. So just because of the outreach of the technology has allowed, I think, a vast, wide of net to be cast. Both.
I mean, I think a lot of things have changed. I mean, self-taping is never going to leave us. Being able to work remotely is never going to leave us now. I mean, I think some of those are good. Some of those are things for good. Some people, I think it's just, you just have to. I mean, Sam Dunny's looking at me now, going, "Technology, Drew, you're getting on board with this." But I mean, we have no choice.
There's an irony to the fact that last week we were talking about technology almost specifically, and Drew just mainly moaned and just he's so anti because he doesn't understand it. But actually, I think the industry is so powered by it now, and things have changed, and in a lot of ways for the better. So we do have to embrace it and go with it.
Yeah.
Well, all those things, and you mentioned getting on board with projects now. Is there one of the many things that you are good and successful at? Is there one discipline now you think you hold dear, and it's like, I'm going to push forward with that, or are you still going to be this polymath that you are?
Well, I mean, it was weird because when you said at the beginning of this that we all now have to sort of do many things, the idea of when I used to say I also direct, people were like, well, what are you? What do you do?
Right.
And I battled it for a long time, but I do both without being, trying to not be arrogant about it, or sound like an idiot, but I did feel I can do these. I can do it together. Like I can act, I can direct, I can write, I can do those things. And now I think that that's a completely acceptable way of working entirely. I think that, the younger generation, because they're basically filmmakers of their own lives, because they're filming their entire life, and they're also learning about how to shoot something, to light something, how to sell it. They don't even know that that's what they're doing, that they are completely one person band, making their own life. So I don't think it has the stigma, and so I suppose I've really accepted directing generally as a profession into my life, and I really, really enjoy it, and I really have embraced it. And I was lucky I also got to direct at drama schools during this. I was working at the Giles Foreman Centre for Acting in Soho when it was dead, when there was no one there. It was like 28 days later and us doing The Cherry Orchard, and that experience will never ever probably happen again. But I suppose I love doing audio and I love doing theatre, and I just think I love being in the room is what I've learned. Whether it's in audio, which we've started to go back and do, some live, whilst directing students live, and we made a short film recently, and I think that that is the one thing that I think is so essential for makers, is being live does change it enormously. But if you're asking specifically what a project or something that has really, or an area, I think I want to make a film. Like I've got the bug to make it, because we were so close to doing it before, and it's been such a long wait with it. And I've been sat with these scripts, particularly Fall from Grace, for a long time, and I can see it all, and I've played it all multiple times, and I really have got a burning desire to go out and film it, because I just
gotta be done.
So I suppose that is probably filming of all of the different types of directing, but I'd say the being in person is the glue that needs to glues all those parts of directing together that I want to keep doing, because it just you can do so much on it, but not I mean, I remember I directed a thing for a drama school thing, and we decided to use the Zoom and not try and not do Zoom. So we did Macbeth with Zoom, and the witches pull Macbeth and Banquo out of their Zoom call into their Zoom world. And
nice.
And then they kill them. And I was like, let's just use the technology, that we have, and let's not try and crowbar something else in. So I suppose that was another thing that COVID managed to do, is make you think about something different, and that drama will always find a route through whatever it is. So
it was refreshing to kind of feel that everyone was making things work, which is very important, because at one point, like everybody, I did the same thing. I panicked, and then I went, actually, there's nothing I can do. I just got to give myself over to this, sit back, relax, and try and order a microphone. But I mean, you mentioned, and we can't not mention your dad, the wonderful Brian Clemens, and how prolific a writer he was, an enormous talent. And I'm not going to blow smoke up your Jaxie, but you have inherited a huge amount of talent from your dad. Are you aware? I mean, obviously you're aware of that, but did he is there any part of your dad's legacy, talent that you think you hold dear, and I mean, did he give you any gems of advice? I mean, just an amazing writer, and he's left us so much stuff that I watch time and time again and enjoy. I mean, what did he give you that has really pushed you on, do you think?
Gosh, I mean,
big question. Sorry.
Big question. No, yeah. Well, okay. So the quick answer to what has he given me, and it's what I've realized I have that he had, is energy. He had an enormous energy for creating things, and was a bit of a force of nature to make things happen. And I think that when you meet anyone in our profession that gets things done, they have that drive, that sort of, you know, that it's just energy. It's like I can't explain it any more than, you know, just a force of nature of a personality, or a, you know, or a desire to make something happen, and taking a group of people over the hill together and everyone going, yeah, I'll do that. And some people have that energy to do that. And he certainly had that in terms of his writing, creating stories and making people trust and believe in him and the idea to go out and make it. And I definitely think I've got some of that because I do juggle so many things at the same time. I mean, you know, during quite recently, as we were coming out during sort of the first and second jab sort of period, you know, I was juggling probably about 12 to 15 different projects at the same time. And I really didn't know how. It's because I said yes to everything, because I thought, well, not everything will happen. We'll go back into the lockdown.
Yeah.
And everything did happen. I was like, oh my God, now I have to, you know, do all these things. And how am I going to do that? And I think that his energy is the thing that I've inherited, to be able to take on chaos, live in chaos, and be able to work within it. And then I look back at my family home, which is like an antique emporium, and I realized that I grew up in chaos. So I was prepared my whole life for utter chaos. So that's the thing that I feel that I really have got from him. But yeah, he was incredibly prolific, because he didn't hold on to an idea and go, oh God, this is the one I really want to make. He just, if it wasn't happening, he'd just write something else. He just had, that was his skill set. I think he was an ideas man. He could continually have a new idea, you know, many, you know, in a day sometimes. I mean, when we made our film Surgery, which was sort of the last, which is our little tribute to him, even though it's quite a dark film. The last thing that his last idea, basically, and we were like, we're going to do a horror, because we were thinking about doing a feature at the time. And we need to do a short to prove that we can do this horror. You know, we're looking for an idea. You know, we need something that's like, you know, under 10 minutes. And literally in about 45 seconds, he came up with an idea, which was 80% what Surgery is. And I was just, you know, I'd spend weeks maybe thinking about it, or, you know, and all that stuff. He just handed it a real access to imagination. And I think that there's a huge, that period of television is sort of not really celebrated or revered, and it is becoming, people are looking back at this period a bit more because of DVD and streaming and BritBox and all this stuff, and realizing that actually those writers, of which there were about 30 during that period, who wrote everything, created what we now know as television.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think a huge part of it, of where their imagination came from, is because they were mostly children of the war. So they were all growing up as kids during the Blitz and being, you know, sent off, you know, for what's the word I want? Oh my gosh,
evacuated.
Evacuated, or living in, you know, in London during, you know, wherever they would be during bombings and stuff. And I think for lots of those young or those writers, when they were young, it was an incredibly exciting time, even though it was dangerous, but it was incredibly exciting. And all they had was books, comics, and the radio, and the rest of it was pure, you know, how would I visualize that? And then they, and as a response to World War II, they created all of this television that was basically pure escapism, you know, complete, you know, nothing really too negative or dark. It was all fun, espionage, playful, you know, the Champions, the Avengers, Doctor Who, Danger Man, The Saint, Mission Impossible, all these things, you know, they're all sort of, you know, fantastical. And I wonder actually if we will get something similar writing wise from this, from being in the pandemic, that will we want slightly, you know, more heartwarming pieces, or something a bit more escapist than something dark and gritty and real? I don't know what the answer is, but I know, obviously, I don't know if you guys watch Ted Lasso, but I mean, that's such a great heartwarming show.
Yeah.
And I understand why it's so successful, and it probably is even more successful because of the period that we're in.
I think it's very interesting to say, because I sort of thought about it recently, and I've seen what's being cast, what's being produced now, and there is a genuine desire to laugh.
Yeah,
I can see, I can just see. I thought if it's comedic, it's probably going to get commissioned, because or produced, or think there is a genuine desire to laugh. Thank God, and to be entertained. I mean, we all sat there in lockdown, whatever, and young welcome guests stopping us doing anything, but all was so much pent, and I think people, which is what Drewling Samantics was came out of. We wanted people to go, look how we are valued. We're just as important as your plumber, your electrician, the guy delivering your food from Ocado. It is poor, and we are very valid. Thank heavens people have realised that. I mean, Sam and I did a dinner theatre gig, and the number of people that came up to me afterwards saying it is so nice to go out and be entertained. Like you say, you could do Netflix, but there's nothing like being in a room or being in a theatre, or a cinema with other people experiencing entertainment. It's very, very important and therapeutic.
Yeah,
very powerful, very powerful. And so is that there must be. In fact, I know, because I peeked in your garage at home. There's a huge catalogue of Brian, your dad's work. Is there any of that you think is we're going to do that, we're going to bring that to life? Because there must, because it did make me think there are so many ideas. He was enormously prolific and brilliantly talented. Is there a little hidden gem that Can
I actually jump in 1 second, because it just to add to this, that not only was your late father an incredible writer and creator, and obviously it's passed on to you as well, but just to add to that and make you even more unbearable, your family in general, because take the short films, that's you and your brother, so it's not even like it's just your dad's passed it down to you. There's two of you, and working together to carry on his legacy, but also to create your own and to go from there. So all this work that perhaps your dad never got to release, or there are things that could have been taken further. Do you find that, and sort of tagging on to what Drew asked, are there bits that sort of you want to go one direction with that your brother George wants to do, or is it very much sort of that family unit, we're going to do this for dad, or we're going to do our own thing at this point? Does it sort of come into play?
God, it's yeah. I mean, George and I, as my brother, we really love the same things. We've got a very similar sense of humor. We like the same kind of movies. And storytelling to an extent. So yeah, there's never in terms of a fraction between what we would like to do or not. I think we're in agreement pretty much every single time of what we should do. Yes, in answer to your question, Drew, there's loads of things that I'd love to do. Some of them are dated and would need enormous rewrites and things, but there's almost the same amount of unproduced material as there is produced. So there's almost an alternate career of things that didn't quite go. I mean, not completely, but there's a huge amount. Some of those things, I mean, I haven't read all of them. I haven't had time. It's so daunting, because there's just so many drawers with so many ideas and so many scripts. And that, I think that if I was in lockdown at my mum's house, I probably would have spent the time going through it a bit more. We started archiving it a little bit during lockdown. I've got a cat here. No.
Oh yeah, look at that. There's an ear.
Don't do that.
See, this is where our followers on YouTube get to win, because they get to, who is this beautiful friend? This is
Indiana, named after Indiana Jones.
Get away.
First film that Lara and I saw together, and and so Indiana is the name. We've got another one as well, Alfredo, who's named after the projectionist in Cinema Paradiso, which was one of our favourite movies.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's very movie related, even animals here. But yeah, so there are a lot. There are things that I'd like to develop and push forward, if possible. Lots of them will need working and reworking and that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously at the moment, one of them that I'm looking at doing is the play that Drew was in, which I directed, which is Strictly Murder, which we're looking at turning into a feature film. And Drew very kindly agreed to appear in a trailer for us as a
marvelous that was
concept trailer to see if we can help garner any interest, which I'm hoping that we have, because I don't think many people go and shoot something of an idea to show what it could be like, because you want to go and shoot it, but only because I had all the actors from the show, we had the costume, we had the props still, and the play itself was written with my family home in mind, even though it's set in France. We went to my family home and shot a whole section or bits of it to show how it could be more than, because the play happens in one room, and how it could expand out. And lots of his, even his theatre is quite filmic. He has long sequences in play sometimes, but there's no dialogue whatsoever. And it lends itself quite nicely to that. So yes, Drew, there are lots of others that we'd like to do. The problem with some of them is you're like, oh, that's 50 million at least to do that. You just go,
you didn't hold back in any way.
Yeah, let's just
the reason you didn't, and it's a complete thing, but the budget level doesn't really exist anymore in film. It's on television, so you've got up to 10 million, and then a wasteland of no movies unless you're incredibly famous until you're about 100 million. And so all those movies that were sort of war movies or lawyer, courtroom dramas, or all those type of things that we used to have, or thrillers, just don't exist because they can't afford to make them at that budget anymore, because they don't make the return generally. So they've all gone onto television. So, I look at a lot of Dad's work and go, oh, this is a film he's written. Could it be, adapted to a TV series? And one of them is a sort of a World War II Western. And it's great. It's really good, but it's massive. I mean, it's enormous. And I did think, God, could we do this as a TV show? And then I found in the archive a one-pager outline for how he thought, if you went to a TV show, how you could do it. But that was in the 70s, and then
Amazing.
So, there's lots of nice things, and I think that there's talk of possibly maybe a book happening at some point about him, which I think is, I do think is deserved and long overdue, because he just wrote for so many people and so many companies, and and really, for so many different properties. So had a lot to say on the on the creation of the British television industry.
Certainly one of those people who, even if the name doesn't ring bells with a lot of people that may be listening or watching us now, if you were to look up his back catalogue of work, there are so many things that you never would have realised he was involved in, and you go, oh my gosh, and it just overwhelmingly so.
Well, and there's two behind. That's Blind Terror up there, which was a Mia Farrow movie that he did.
I remember that very well.
Yeah. And the other one up there is And Soon the Darkness, which that's a story. So he thought, oh, wouldn't it be good to do a thriller during the day? And he pitched the idea to, I think it was Lou Grade, I think it was at the time, and he was like, yeah, great, greenlit it on the Friday. He wrote it over the weekend, and they're in production on Monday. And you're like, wow. What? But that's, he wouldn't really redraft at all. Or very rarely, he would sort of sit there. He'd sit there and work it all out in his head, and then just write it. Bang. He never really suffered from writer's block either. He always sort of said, his motto was "Ask to chair, pen to paper." And
we have got. I'm going to ask you now to be as brief as your dad could possibly be, because we're winding up, and I'm going to ask you to wind up very quickly, as we always ask this of a guest. But you've been so terribly interesting that I'm going to cram you into a little box. Have you got a little story, a nice quick little story, something that you could you could tag with, because we're going to definitely get you back on. Because and
talk for hours.
Definitely come on. Yeah, because it saves us doing any thinking, because you can do it for us. But just tag us with a lovely little. You got 2-minute story, something that makes you laugh, or you dine out on.
Oh God. Well, I mean, I think when I did it, well, talking of Dad, I did a play at Nottingham Theatre Royal as part of the Thriller season, and it was one of his plays called Inside Job, and it was a 3-hander. And as it's a rep piece, you start with 10 people in one play, and then 7, then 5, then 3, but you're in all of them, and the parts get bigger. So, and you've got a week to learn each one, and by the end of it, you've only got 4.5 days really to learn it. And this was the last one, and it was Dad's play. It was me, Joe Castleton, and Jeremy Lloyd Thomas. And on the opening night, we started, and I was like, okay, it's going well. But we were like, we've just managed to. It's just gone in. And bless her, Joey in the Act 1 suddenly skipped into Act 2, and I was like, no, we haven't got there yet. And she didn't know for a good few minutes, and then was like, what are you doing? And then realised. And then we had to improvise for about 10 minutes, which feels like eternity. We came back and was like, thank God, came out of it. Second half, I was like, okay, we'll hold it together. The second time, when I have to tie the character up, and I have to turn the gas on, and because I was the bad guy, and I had to say a line, what you need most is gas, and turn the gas on, you get this sound effect. That sound effect didn't come out. I think whoever was on the desk hit every single cue. So it went ding dong, all the music, everything happened, and I have to continue. I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. And right at the end, I run off and had to get shot. And the person that was doing the wardrobe was like, I think it needs more blood. I think it needs a bit more blood. In the middle of the show, took it off, never put it back. So when I come on and they have to die, and they're like, oh, he's riddled with bullets, I had to sort of fall frontwards in and then slide down the wall so no one could see my back. And I just was like that. And my dad was in the audience. And I was
wow.
like, Dad, I'm so sorry. I messed it up. So I didn't even notice. I was like,
incredible.
Excellent. Well, Sam, I mean, it's been such a pleasure having you on. And
thank you for asking me, guys.
Would you just one more question, very quick answer. Will you come back for us, please?
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Well,
thank you so much.
Absolutely fantastic.
It really has been a pleasure, and we will definitely get you back on, because even if it's just to hear more stories about your dad. But no, it's been brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I think Sam's gone.
I think we might have lost him there. Apologies. We have had a couple of technical hitches, but I think that exit was enigmatic in a true Clemens way. He was there 1 minute, he's gone. I don't think even Brian could have written anything better than that, or Sam. But yeah, well, no. Yeah. But wasn't it great having him on? It was lovely.
You know what? Just such an incredible guest, and I mean, obviously, we've said to him, please come back. We want him to come back. And we say that to a lot of the people we have on. We've been very lucky. We've had some phenomenal guests who've been able to talk to us about all sorts of different subjects and directions within the industry, and give insight into things that, I mean, you and I don't really know a lot about, let alone people at home who aren't familiar with the industry like we are. But in this instance in particular, you've got Sam, but you've also got the legacy his dad's left, and all his knowledge and writings, and you've got Sam's brother George as well, who another so you're almost getting 3 times the volume, or 3 times the amount with Sam. So we certainly need to bring him back on and dive even deeper into some of the things he can tell us. But
well, I mean, there's so many projects he's involved in, and so much more that he can tell us. So we'll do that, and along with a catalogue of other guests that we'll, we're gonna get emails now and tweets and goodness as well. Why haven't I been asked back on? And no one's been asked back on yet.
No, we haven't. Do you know? I think it's testament to how lucky we've been, and what incredible connections we've got within the industry, that we're at a stage, and we are still fairly in our infancy when you look at us as a podcast, but we've had such incredible people on that, and they keep coming. We keep having more and more amazing guests. So we will get to a point where we go, right, will you please come back on and tell us even more? But at this stage, we've got people queued up who just got so much knowledge and so much to tell. We're incredibly lucky, and by proxy, so are you, our lovely listeners and viewers, because
Absolutely.
we have got some other great people coming up for you over the coming weeks and months. Just some real kind of unexpected areas, I think, within the industry, and just we've got such cool stuff, and eventually such cool people coming back again, including Sam, obviously. So look forward to having more on. But speaking of looking forward, Drew, what have you got coming up? What's on the agenda for you soon?
Well, coming up is the play at Wimbledon, and I am going to put a plug in there. But we head now into Tech Week before opening on the 3rd of September. So it's pretty much going to be just that really this week. It's enough to concentrate on, I think.
I think so.
So that'll be my week. I shall be invisible me. So I won't be invisible to you though, because we'll certainly get together and record. But what do you got coming up then, Sam? What's your week holding for you?
Well, so a few exciting bits my end as well. Just finishing off final bits of various minor projects that have been in sort of work for a while. Making sure I keep on top of those. I think I've got my first review of 2021. No, it can't be the first of 2020. My first theatre review post lockdown and post the uninvited guests. So I'm back to reviewing at theatre. So I've got a couple of those booked up coming soon. Just lots of little things to look forward to. I don't know when yet, but there are pickups to be done on the film, a couple of extra filming days thrown in for that. And I've got another big feature, which I'm lucky enough to play a lead role in, which it's been in the pipeline for so long. And I'm hoping that principal photography is going to start very soon. So we're going to be on set for that. And I can't give too many details yet, but there should be some exciting names and some exciting things happening with that. So fingers crossed that all happens soon.
Nice.
But aside from that, mate, just the usual. Looking forward to being back with you on the sofa of dreams, me next to the carefully placed plant, and
the carefully placed plant.
Just looking forward to podcasting again, mate, and being back. And we are actually fast approaching the end of this season.
I know. It's been amazing.
We've
really quick.
Time has flown, despite a lot of it being during lockdown and not being able to go anywhere madly. But so looking forward to the things we've got coming up to end the season, and then anything exciting we've got going on, starting a new one, and from there. So lots of exciting stuff coming, but we'll take it step by step for now, I think.
Step by step. I mean, we've got the long Christmas season coming up, mate, with pantomimes and all that, everything, joy that brings. So I shall look 50 years older if that's impossible. But by the end of December, we'll cross our fingers that doesn't happen, because we don't want to scare people. But there's a lot of makeup, mate, to look like this.
Well, exactly. Like Doc Brown in Back to the Future, he's had to age himself up, but yours comes naturally, apparently. So well done. And on that cheerful note, I shall raise a bottle to you, sir. And we shall toast. Cheers to you. Cheers to everyone at home. And we'll see you same time next week.
Cheers, Sam. Cheers, everyone.
See you later. Bye. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now. We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.